Hello there, people of the internet. Today I have a very important announcement for you guys. Pokemon Legends Arceus is probably the best Pokemon game ever released. And I think you're out of your mind if you argue against that at this point. Now, there's a lot I want to unpack in this video to talk about why I believe Pokemon Legends Arceus is pretty much the best Pokemon game released to this day. But keep in mind, this is coming from a series veteran. I've literally been a fan of Pokemon since before I learned how to walk. From the TV show to the card game to the very first iterations of the game on Game Boy Color to now. This is not only the most evolution and growth a Pokemon game has ever had, but it's reinvigorated my love for the series, and I don't think I expected that. I expected a great game for sure, but I don't think I expected something as groundbreaking for the series as this was. And also keep in mind too, I haven't beaten the game yet, but since it's come out on Friday, I have literally binged it for about like 22 hours. So I'm 22 hours into the game. And I think in the span of 3 days, I have managed to pour 22 hours into a video game. It's probably good. So despite the fact that I haven't beaten it and that this is kind of an impressions video, I'm letting you know right now that this type of Pokemon game, it's heavily addicting for at least someone like me. So now Pokemon Legends Arceus, or PLA as I'll just refer to it as, really does make a number of significant changes to the formula of the series, and I really appreciate that it modernizes a lot of the elements of Pokemon in some subtle and some dramatic ways to kind of give it a more refreshing take. You know, a lot of people immediately as we saw the trailers for this and now that the game's out are pointing direct comparisons to Breath of the Wild, and I think that's fair. This game is similar to Breath of the Wild in the sense that you have this open exploration. You can kind of go off the beaten path. A lot of the adventure and fun of the game is discovering things on your own. It has a lot of elements that are similar to Breath of the Wild, from asymmetrical open areas to crafting to just various things, right? And just the feel of the game, in the aesthetic. Jubilife Village kind of reminds you of Kakariko Village in Breath of the Wild, and you have all these side quests and these characters, and the game definitely has a vibe of Breath of the Wild in a sense. But actually, I don't think that's necessarily a fully fair comparison to just say it's ripping off Breath of the Wild or anything like that, because at its core, this is definitely still a Pokemon game, right? But honestly, the more I've played it and the more I've thought about it, this game actually reminds me to the bone more of Pikmin, it's weird that I say this, right? It's because I played Pikmin my whole life too, and I'm a huge fan of that series, so maybe that's why I've gelled with this game so well. When I'm going through the gameplay loop, when I'm exploring these areas, it gives me that same kind of feeling of immersion that Pikmin did, where when I play Pikmin, it locks me into the world and makes me feel like I'm this explorer, and I'm cataloging these unique items and this adventure through a foreign world that I'm kind of encapsulated in. Like that's kind of one of the big draws of Pikmin that I enjoy, is like being able to turn a corner to find some new thing, some new creature, or you feel like you're on an expedition or a journey into an uncharted world. And PLA 100% gives me that same vibe, especially since it's segmented into these different areas where each has their own unique Pokemon spawn rates and everything like that. But yeah, okay, so I'm like jumping ahead of myself so much here. So PLA, Pokemon Legends Arceus, if you've lived under a rock, it is kind of an action adventure Pokemon game. It's not a standard JRPG one, and it makes a lot of changes to the once very stagnant Pokemon formula that we have been kind of spoon-fed for 2.5 decades now. PLA is quite literally the most refreshing change of pace for a series probably ever in video game history. And I want to jump into the changes with you guys, talk about what specifically they did to make this game so much more of a new experience for players. In previous Pokemon games, they've all kind of for the most part, been the same. There have been some gradual changes in and out to certain aspects of the formula, and there are some things that you can see here that have been drawing for inspiration from those gradual changes in the past. Some of the fights against these Lord Pokemon that you come across, things like Cleaver, kind of remind me of the trials from Sun and Moon. Exploring these big open areas reminds me a lot of the wild area from Pokemon Sword and Shield. You know, just things like that. The strong style and agile style moves, they remind me of Z moves from X and Y. So, like, these elements of Pokemon have kind of lain dormant in the same cookie cutter formula for a very long time, but this is the first time they've kind of from the ground up have reinvented what Pokemon does and what it should be. Every Pokemon game up until this point, that is a mainline game or just in general, right, has kind of followed the same formula. You're a 10-year-old who goes off town, gets one of 3 starter Pokemon from a professor, fights in sequential order a bunch of, leaders of a gym or a trial to eventually reach an Elite Four and become a Pokemon master, all while catching different Pokemon and completing the Pokedex. There's a subplot about an evil group of villains trying to take over the world, and you have to find legendary Pokemon and stuff like that. That's kind of been the formula for every single Pokemon game up until this point. That and the gameplay has always been the same too. It's always turn-based combat where you go once, the opponent goes once, you have 4 moves. Some slight alterations have been made to this formula, right? You never had camera control in the older Pokemon games, up until Pokemon Sword and Shield, where they gave you camera control only in the wild area. You always had just pure random encounters, up until Pokemon Sword and Shield, where they gave you some random encounters, but they also gave you the ability to see certain Pokemon walking around on the field. I mean, like, these were, again, subtle changes. Things even like Sun and Moon had replaced, the gym battles with trials or things like that. But this is the first time Legends Arceus is a game where that entire structure, that entire foundation is completely taken, thrown out, and replaced with something new. There are no gyms in this game, okay? There's not really a singular core, at least to the point that I found, an evil team in this game. And your goals are radically different, and the gameplay loop is also radically different. You do kind of have a similar progression system in the sense that you walk around looking for Pokemon and to log into your Pokedex, and then you use that to increase your survey ranking, and you get up to 10 survey levels. The survey rankings, though, they're kind of not necessarily like gyms. They're actually very different in a progression system, because it's not like you are kind of locked in going in a linear fashion, which you have with every Pokemon game, right? That's another thing too. Pokemon has always been very linear. It's been very, you have to walk in this direction. You have to fight this trainer who is specifically set up for you to fight him. There's no way around them, unless, some games have had trainers that look away and then you could just run past them real quick. This is the first game where, one, trainer battles are very sparse, actually. There's very rarely any trainer battles. And the game itself is extremely open-ended. Like, I was able to reach Survey Core level 5 before I even fought Cleaver, right? I was able to run around the area and do what I wanted to do instead of following a specific linear path, being over-leveled for a boss fight, just mindlessly hitting a button until, the enemy just died. I was able to fight Pokemon extremely over-leveled compared to me, right? The most fun I've ever had in a Pokemon game, honestly, was in this game when I decided, instead of fighting Cleaver, I wanted to go off the beaten path, find a cave, and fight an Alpha Heracross that was like 25 levels above me, and get my ass beat by it, and just keep trying to go back to find different ways to beat it until I eventually did. Like, that is such a refreshing feeling in a Pokemon game, to be able to go off the beaten path and do what you want, and to be able to have some sort of player agency. Keep in mind, guys, too, right? A lot of these things that are considered innovation in this game, in Pokemon Legends Arceus, isn't necessarily innovation for video game standards, right? This is innovation for Pokemon standards, and I'm judging this based on a Pokemon game. Now, I'm not saying PLA is the greatest game ever released or anything like that, but like, for a Pokemon game, these changes that they've made to the formula are just groundbreaking. But as a video game, it's like, okay, crafting has been in video games in the past before. Sandbox open world exploration has been in video games before. Side quests have been in a game before. Like things like that. But these are all brand new for Pokemon games, and you gotta keep in mind, right? Us Pokemon fans, we have been ravenous and extremely hungry for something different, man, for something new in this series. The fact that in the pre-release for Sun and Moon a few years back, we all like jumped for joy at the idea of like these trials for Pokemon being different and being like, oh my god, it's a new thing, Game Freak's doing something new, Sun and Moon might be something new. And we literally learned when the game came out that the trials were just gym battles, but like with a different coat of paint. Like the fact that we are finally getting something that's actually new in the Pokemon series. It's been a long time coming, you guys. It's been something that fans of the series have been holding out for a while. And I am so happy that it came in this package. It encapsulates the essence of Pokemon and gives fans what they've been asking for a long time. Now, with that said, of course, I don't think everyone's going to vibe with this game. I know I'm already hearing complaints from a lot of hardcore Pokemon fans about how it's not necessarily what they want and how they don't really gel with it as well as they thought they would. And I mean, I'm inclined to say, Pokemon fans will complain about anything. If it's too similar, they'll complain, and if it's too different, they'll complain. But regardless, like, I can kind of see where some people would not vibe with this game if all you've ever really enjoyed and played are the same formula of Pokemon games throughout the years. But I mean, me personally, right? I couldn't even sit through Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. I couldn't do it. I played like maybe a couple hours of it, but I was like, I've already beaten Diamond and Pearl, and I loved those games when I was a kid, but oh my god, this is literally the same thing. Like, it is block for block the same game pretty much, just with a worse art style. But this game, man, I cannot put this game down. It is so addicting, it's so fun, and I really want to put a full review out, kind of categorizing and cataloging my adventures with it and giving you guys a full scripted take on this game. But this video purely exists for me to tell you guys, hey, PLA is really fucking good. And if you have doubts about Pokemon, if you've fallen out of the series in years, and you feel like the games have been all the same and you haven't wanted to play it, I know there's a lot of people who maybe have dropped off of Pokemon in the last like 10 or 15 years. Give this game a shot, please. You will find so much to love about this game. I can almost guarantee you that. Now, one of the things I genuinely wish, and I think this would make it honestly the perfect Pokemon game if it was the case, I wish like Gen 5, was for a lot of Pokemon fans, there was more for us to explore. Because let's say there's only like a very small handful of new Pokemon, and I mean, most of them were either leaked or shown off in promo footage. It's very small amount of new Pokemon, which is why I personally wish that this game had kind of a large roster of new Pokemon, much like Gen 5 did. Like Gen 5 introduced a whole new 150 Pokemon. If this game was nothing but new Pokemon, minus like the starters and stuff, and I was exploring these sandbox open world areas, and every corner I turned, I found something brand new that I've never seen before, that, caught my fancy and really made me feel like, oh my god, this, that really made me like feel like I'm exploring this uncharted world. That would have made this the perfect game, in all honesty, for me, is if this game was filled with brand new explorations for me to find, which is why I'm honestly very envious if like you haven't played a Pokemon game since maybe like Gen 3 and you're jumping into this now, because most of the Pokemon in this game are from Gen 4 and beyond. So like, if these Pokemon are new to you, and you're putting them inside of the Pokedex, and you're evolving them, trying to see what they're going to turn into next, dude, I envy you so much. Like that feeling of discovery is lost upon me, being an aged veteran of this series, and I wish I could feel that again. But I digress regardless. Thank you guys for watching. I'm gonna go play more Pokemon Legends Arceus. See you guys later.